All right, welcome to part 2 of my Mark 17 designated marksman project. So in the previous video, which I'm going to link down in the description, I showed you guys the rifle itself, which is a FN SCAR 17S with the standard 16-inch length barrel, and the PWS rail extension, which has been seen used on several military issue rifles. So in this video, I'm just going to wrap the project up. I've got the remaining parts that I need to replicate the later version of this rifle that I talked about in the first video. So that is what I ended up going with, rather than the older Naval Special Warfare version of the rifle with the Night Force scope and the doctor sight on top. I'm going to go for the more modern Ranger setup, which uses the same Atlas bipod and then a loopholed scope and mount, both of the Mark 6 series. So I'll just go over these one at a time. So the Atlas bipod, like I said, was seen on both builds, though there is a slight difference if you look closely at the photos. The version used by the Rangers, the newer one, has just the standard flathead mount, while Naval Special Warfare rifles tended to get the version with a quick detach mount, which at the time was made by Arms, and later on American Defense took over supplying the QD mounts for these bipods. But again, since I'm going with the Ranger version, just has the standard flathead mount, and it's nothing really special. I mean, you see these all the time. They're a very common, very popular bipod. You can lock the legs at multiple different positions, at different angles, front or back. You have this ball mount that allows the head to rotate, and you can loosen and tighten the tension on that with the knob on the bottom. So pretty straightforward. It's a nice, rugged, lightweight bipod, so I think it'll do well in this build. The mount is part of the loophole dagger or ECOS-O package, which was a contract that SOCOM solicited that Leupold ended up winning, which was this particular mount, which is the 34mm IMS mount, as well as the Leupold Mark 6 3-18 by 44. So this is one of a few versions that were adopted. This one is front focal plane with the Tremor 2 reticle. This is non-illuminated, but illuminated versions were also adopted. And all of these, as far as the ECOS program goes, were adopted with the shorter turret on top rather than the original clutch lock turret that the Mark 6 came with, because included with the package is also an Aimpoint T1 that mounts on top of the scope, and with the shorter turret allows the T1 to actually clear the turret and see over it. And I'll clip in some photos of that. But yeah, they went to the shorter turret to allow that to happen. So it doesn't have the clutch lock anymore, but it does have this little button right here that in order to move it from the 0 position, which it's currently locked on, you have to press this button and that'll allow you to turn it, and then you can freely turn it. It only locks in the 0 position. And once you get past 0 to your second turn, because this is a 2-turn turret, this little pin will pop up indicating that you are on your second rotation. And of course, just have your focus over here and windage knob over here. And I did pick up these Tenebrex scope caps separately from the scope. These are what are included with the kit. They allow you to rotate the caps out of the way, which would be important if you did mount a T1 on top. You wouldn't want these occluding your view of the red dot. And huge shout out to my follower on Instagram who hooked me up with the scope and the mount. I don't want to dox him or anything, but he knows who he is. And then also shout out to my viewer who supplied me with this. So if you don't already follow me on my Instagram page, I do occasionally put out want to buy ads, or sometimes I sell off old stuff I'm not using. So just throwing that out there. But I'm going to go ahead and get all this mounted to the rifle. I'm going to get the scope leveled and get my eye relief set, and then I will be back. All right, and we are back with the completed rifle. So as you can see, I've got all the accessories mounted up to it. The scope has been torqued down to the correct specification. It's been leveled, and it is ready to go just in time for the Clone Rifles 2022 clone shoot, which is taking place this Saturday. I'm actually leaving tomorrow morning since I have to drive from Missouri to Ohio to get to that. So yeah, I will be using this at that shoot. I'll also be getting plenty of video of the competitions and events that are taking place throughout the day, and just all of the other clones that the 100 some odd participants are bringing along with them. So that should make for a very good video for you guys that are into cloning like I am. So stay tuned for that. I'm hoping to have it uploaded sometime early next week, after the weekend, obviously. So getting back into the rifle itself, one thing that I forgot to mention before with the Leupold Mark 6 that I was aware of when I was buying it is these have kind of a crazy long eye relief compared to a lot of scopes in this category, which can be a good and a bad thing. On one hand, you do not have to worry about getting scope bite from the recoil of the rifle causing the scope to actually strike you in the face, which has been a problem on SCAR 17s in the past, particularly with LCAN optics, which have a very short eye relief. Now the trade-off for that is because you have to push the scope farther forward, it takes up your available rail space in front of the scope for clip-on devices such as thermal or night vision clip-ons. So the PWS rail extension helps as far as mounting a IR laser a bit forward, but if you're planning on using a clip-on optic, then you may want to actually go with the older version of what I'm calling the designated Marksman SCAR 17, which uses a Nightforce NXS 2.5 to 10 by 24. That's a much shorter scope body and should leave you plenty of room for night vision goodies. So anyway, I'm not going to get into the history of the Mark 17 right now. I've already covered the history of the SCAR and the SCAR program pretty heavily in my videos on the Mark 16 SCAR and the Mark 20 SCAR. So if you're interested in that, I'll link those down in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.